Really? Wouldn't work? For the Portland girls. It's funny, I'm not a good evening, I can read them. I was actually curious about that.
The first order of business this evening is the action on minutes. To see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the minutes from the meeting held on January 27th, 2025. Do I have a motion? Motion approved. Second. Any discussion?
I think on the first page, under Chairman's report, reported that Cooley reported the town of Greenwood would like, I think the word select persons or selectmen ought to be put in after Greenwood. I think that would read more appropriate wording.
It was the town manager that reached out to us.
Or maybe just say that then, something like, just says the town of Greenwood would like the school board members, kind of a, you know what I mean, right? Town of Greenwood's an abstract.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approving the minutes from the meeting held on January 27th, 2025. Thank you, unanimous. Moving on to citizen comments. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak? Seeing none, we will move on to board member comments. Are there any board members that would like to speak this evening?
Sure, maybe. Do we want to, is it an appropriate time to give an update on that Greenwood meeting?
Perfect time.
Whatever, they spoke to us about why budget's going up and population's coming down. We kind of told them that the population wasn't really going down. And they were mainly concerned with the optics of our school, and that from the outside, people look at it as the price is going up and we're not getting any more. And they were concerned, they had a lot of people complaining. We kind of told them those people should come here to our meeting and see what's going on and learn about it, and their optics might get changed. Also, there was a heavy concern about our band, our marching band. Interesting.
We don't have much.
It was interesting. It's interesting. I mean, a very heartfelt concern. And our music quality isn't what it used to be. I think that's maybe for a different time. But pretty much we encourage people to come and be involved and not just complain. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, I just echo that. I mean, overall, it was a good,
Yeah, it
healthy
was good.
conversation, and I think the beginning of collaboration and a better understanding. I think we even have one of the selectmen here in our audience tonight. So, thank you for accompanying me. Yeah, that's about just it. Any other board members that would like to speak? Moving on to the chairman's report. I'd just like to remind board members or anyone that might be interested in running for a seat on the school board to pick up nomination papers at the central office, if you haven't already. Or the town office as well, thank you. You'll need to obtain 25 signatures, and once the signatures are collected, you'll need to submit your signed petitions to the registrar of voters in each town, where signatures were collected by Tuesday, March 18th, by 2 p.m. And the deadline for delivering your certified nomination papers to SAB 44 Central Office is Thursday, March 27th by 4 p.m. There are a number of open seats for the school board election for 2025. Bethel has 2 seats, each 3-year terms. Greenwood has 1 seat for a 3-year term and 1 seat for a 2-year term. Newry has 1 seat at a 3-year term, and Woodstock also has 1 seat at a 3-year term. And lastly, if agenda item number 5 is approved, we will enter into executive session this evening to discuss a personnel matter. Once we return to open session, we will vote on the matter and adjourn. The public is welcome back at that time. And that concludes the chair's report. Moving on to upcoming committee and board meetings. The next SAD 44 board meeting will be Monday, March 17th at 6:30 p.m. here in the Telstar Library, St. Patrick's Day. The Education Committee will meet Thursday, March 13th at 3 p.m. in the Norway Savings Bank Conference Room. Finance and Negotiations Committee will be meeting Tuesday, February 25th, tomorrow at 5:30, Superintendent's Office. Facilities and Personnel Committee will meet again on Monday, March 17th at 5:15 in room 131 here at Telstar. The Policy Committee will meet Monday, March 3rd at 10 a.m., also room 131 here at Telstar. And the Region 9 Cooperative Board will meet Wednesday, March 5th at 6 p.m. at Region 9 School of Applied Technology. Moving on to committee reports. Reporting to the Education Committee, Ms. Thayer.
The Education Committee did not meet due to the snow day on whatever that Thursday was, and we plan to meet again in about 2 weeks.
Thank you, Stephanie. And reporting for Facilities and Personnel, Mr. Kendall.
Yeah, we just had a presentation from Affinity LED Lighting. They're out of, I think it was Dover, New Hampshire, an American-made company. All their items are built in New Hampshire, which is really cool. And just, they've been up 3 times, I think they said, doing assessments of our schools and possibilities of upgrading all of our lights under our envelope in all 3 schools to LEDs to get with the times, save some energy, and shared with some calculations of the return on investment of that, which was really nice. So answered a lot of questions and it sounded very good.
For the Finance Committee, Ms. Harris.
Good evening. We met and started to see presentations from the administrators and staff with their budget asks for the next budget. So we've seen 4 presentations so far. We also met with the TEA, and they started but didn't finish their presentation of their asks for the contract. We meet with them again tomorrow, finish their presentation, and then give our counter. And then just a reminder, we start our weekly meetings tomorrow at 5:30. Anyone that would like to come to learn more about the budget, you are all welcome.
Thank you, Mary.
Recording, right at the administrative
Central
office.
And for the Policy Committee, Mr. Bartlett.
The policy committee met 2 weeks ago, and we went through policy JJE and also policy IJOC, which we will be presenting to the board.
Thank you. And for the Region 9 Cooperative Board, Mr. Brown.
Good news is the buildings are done, but we can't use them. I don't know if you saw in the paper last week, but the issue is with the water flow at the hydrant. There needs to be so much water flow to run the sprinklers in all 3 buildings for a half an hour. And there have been 3 tests done. 1 test was done during the planning phase. They passed, there was enough water. Another test was done just prior to construction, before it started. It was okay. Then one was done in November, late November, and lo and behold, it wasn't okay. There's not enough water at the hydrant to sufficiently give the water to the sprinkler systems to do all 3 buildings at the same time. So a lot of this has been in executive session, so I'm not going to say a lot about the whole thing of doing this, who signed off on what and stuff, but the 2 solutions that they're looking at are a $25,000 plastic tank in the ground. That in itself has all kinds of issues with maintenance of the tank for the rest of the building's life, if you will, and maintaining a tank through the frost and the freeze and the frost and the thaw and stuff. So probably the best option is to go as far as Walmart, which is a half mile away, and it's a 10-inch pipe down to the facility, and that would bring enough water. But that's like David said, a $3 million fix, and it's just obviously not there. So The buildings are pretty much done. They were gonna sign off on them. I think they have signed off and Region 9 has taken ownership. But until this water thing is settled, they're gonna be no good. Mark, you met with the director last 2 weeks ago.
Right before break.
Anything else that,
No, that's the biggest thing. There's a few small projects to finish up in the spring, some paving and outdoor work and maintenance things, but for right now, the battle about the finger pointing of who messed up and where, why didn't they know this beforehand is ongoing, and we'll get an update in a couple weeks at our next meeting.
the scope of the project didn't change. It was always gonna be a welding building, it was always gonna be a culinary arts building. So nothing changed on Region 9's part. But whoever's reading the results of these hydrant tests, if you will, or the water flow test,
Changed multiple times.
somebody made a mistake. And right now, there's gonna be 2 buildings that cost almost $3 million sitting there vacant. Other than that, everything's great.
I'd like to put Levi on the spot.
All right.
How could that conversation about contract screw-ups, how could that possibly be an executive session? How is that legal? You were part of that group? So you were in the executive
I was
session?
in the executive session, yes.
So you can't, you're not talking about things in there because it was shielded by,
We were told several times. Yeah.
was a lawyer there?
No. But they tried to solve this before they went public with it. They've known since, I think,
The whole thing's
late November. And they tried not to go public with it until they tried to have the issue solved before they went out, but it's not an easy fix.
You're our guy at that board, right?
I am.
Tell him I asked him to defend it. It sounds illegal. The executive session sounds illegal. Well, who didn't call who, or I read the paper, I saw
Well,
that.
they went through all that in the executive session.
Yeah, but I maintain that conversation, that's dirty laundry.
Should have-
That ought to be in the public forum. I'm trying to look for where you can get behind closed doors on it. It's either personnel, where it's not a performance
No,
issue. It's not a contract negotiation where public disclosure would hurt the taxpayers' ability to get the best deal. And the third one is litigation. Has anybody sued anybody yet?
I know, but I certainly will be.
Yeah, well, so anyway,
They,
noted.
There's a-
Thank you.
there's a term for that, Scott, and I can't remember what they.
There's a lot of terms for it, no?
When we went into executive session, there was a term, the reason why, like,
Yeah,
it's the
yeah.
personnel, or it's this, or it's that, but there was a right term for it.
No, it just seems to be the way things are going everywhere. It's all laws matter.
So Scott, what was explained to us was that with potential for a lawsuit coming up, they didn't want to put it out until they had all their ducks in a row. But
I've
explanation we
had my remarks, thank you for the opportunity.
Moving on to the superintendent's report and correspondence.
Well, for this evening, we don't have any appointments, transfers, or resignations to report on, so that shortens it up a little bit. We can start with PTA updates if you'd like to. I have the Telstar PTA update. It's going to not be here tonight, so Telstar PTA's most recent meeting was held on February 4th, with members attending both in person and virtually. At that meeting, they discussed alternative retailers for the Rebel Gear Store that might provide greater return. This is something that they will continue to look into. The Telstar PTAs agreed to fill a 31 bag for the class of 2025 project graduation fundraiser. Discussions continue for the hosting of a trivia night. 3 members attended a trivia night at a local venue to see how the event was run and look forward to offering the event to our SAD 44 community for a fun and engaging evening for our friends and family. More details to come. As a reminder, discounted tickets are available district-wide for the Maine Mariners game in Portland on Sunday, March 23rd. More information will be found on our Facebook page or by emailing the Telstar PTA. And their next meeting will be held on March 4th at 6:30 here in the Telstar complex. Staff?
No. The Crestmark PTA is looking at some of our spring events. Shortly we'll be starting a committee for the field day. We had a really successful field day last year. We took really good notes for this year, so feeling like that's going to be fairly easy to organize. We also have a few events coming up. We've got Parents Night Out and then a couple of our spring enrichment opportunities. And I forget if we have any fundraisers coming up.
No.
Taking a break from fundraisers, so.
Thank you. And Ms. Clark, would you mind filling in for Woodstock?
Yep, unfortunately, the week before vacation, we had 2 events canceled because of illness. Our traditional annual family Valentine dance had to be canceled, and then we were doing a whole school trip to the Jam Theater to see a movie, and we're gonna have that rescheduled hopefully sometime in March. Our PTA is co-sponsoring, along with our student leaders, a reading challenge, which begins the first week in March. We are taking a whole school field trip to Mr. Drew and his animal zoo. Shawonky is coming at the end of March to do a presentation on the owls of Maine, and that's co-sponsored by the Whitman Memorial Library. We also are developing a plan for a Pay It Forward project, which will be our student leaders are working with PTA, and PTA will do the funding, and then the TFA. Kids who end up working on this project, we're putting together a plan for a sensory walk outside where the portable used to be, so that's pretty exciting. And then the last thing that's happening that I can think of in March is that again, PTA is collaborating with the Whitman Memorial Library, and we are having an author visit. And the author's name is Jean Lahive, and she's an author from Southern Maine, and her newest book is called, I think it's called, I can't remember what it's, Saving Who Eat. So we're going to do that in conjunction with the Chewonki presentation on the Owls of Maine, which is very good. Yeah.
Thank you. Cell phone parking was brought up last time about looking into research and waiting to see what the survey result from the staff is as far as needs, so we know exactly what type of units and how many we're looking into. It's a wide variety of options, some not so expensive, up to very expensive, depending on how big and how many we're looking for. So I'll continue to update that with that information. And then just in closing tonight, we had a lot of winter season success in our sports programs to share out, just because it's always exciting to share good news. On the middle school side of things, our Alpine team and Nordic teams competed over break to finish up their seasons at states. And out of 12 teams in the Alpine division, our girls finished first in the giant slalom, third place in the slalom, and overall in second place. And the Nordic had 8 teams competing, and the girls were third place in freestyle, second place in classical, and placed third place overall. The boys Alpine, again 12 teams, second place in giant slalom and third place overall. And the Nordic team was third place for freestyle, classical, and overall. So they did extremely well. And then the combined girls Alpine and Nordic, the middle school ended up taking first place at states, and the boys took second place at states, combined between the two. So very exciting. And then we had an individual ski meister, Gwen Stack in 7th grade, who does both Alpine and Nordic, and she won second place overall. So very impressive. Our high school Nordic team, we had a senior Ella Akers, who took third place at the NBC meet, in both classic and freestyle. And then when she went to the state meet, on the first day she was in 6th place, and ended up on the second day improving and was 5th place overall at states in Class C. Our Alpine team is at Saddleback right now on their first day of skiing today, and then tomorrow they'll finish up. And then our boys basketball team made it this year to the semifinal round at Augusta before they lost to St. Dom's, and had a very good season. And the only other note to add in here, we had a Telstar alumni, Tristan Lilly from the class of 2019, competing out west in what's called the King and Queens of Corbett's. He's at Jackson Hole, Wyoming. This is a freestyle competition, and at this level of skiing, for what they are doing, this is essentially their Olympics event. And Tristan went in as an unknown first-timer and took third place overall in the men's division. Put himself on the world stage, essentially. Doing what he loves. He's been out there since he graduated high school here and has done very well. But first time at this skiing level to end up at third place on the podium. It was a very nice write-up. I posted a link on our Facebook pages and website, so in case you want to check out and see it. His mom, Amy, was a longtime middle school teacher here and now currently is a teacher down at Woodstock in second grade. His brothers have both graduated from here as well, so lots of good things going on with our winter's programs, both current and post grads. So just wanted to be able to share that, make sure everyone's aware, and congratulations to all of them. Very proud of their efforts and how they represent our school, our town, and themselves. We're pretty lucky for a small community to have such success. And they finally get snow. To be honest, they can finally be outside and have snow, so that's never a bad thing. And that concludes my report for tonight.
We do not have any old business to tend to this evening. We'll move on to new business. We do not have any adjustments to the agenda, so we'll move on to number 2. To see what action the board wishes to take regarding letting the superintendent enter talks with Andover to draft a new student attendance agreement. Do I have a motion?
Motion to read. Second.
Is that you, Amy? Thank you. Discussion. Scott?
Can we talk about this one at Finance Committee, Mark, a little bit?
We can. We have our president. We have a full slate
That's
presentation.
fine, or at some point, I guess I'd like to put on, just put in our minds, about 17% of the student body is tuitioned in from the region right around 3-4 towns. And, you know, when you do the last year's budget, you do what we receive for tuition, and then you back out that number out of, say, our total expenditure, typically we get, in theory, being reimbursed for with costs incurred, and we come up short. All right, we end up being the chump, and so there's something unfair about that, where the small town, you gotta have a consolidated system. You can't, the old days are long gone, and they weren't that good anyway. I guess, talk about that a little bit. I guess how do you set tuition? State sets rates.
The state sets the tuition.
I sat in a legislative hearing where the Department of Education testified to the Education Committee that the districts have complete discretion what they charge for tuition. That doesn't match up with what you and Deb Martin have said more recently. But I sat there, the one, Gravel, the one that's in charge now, she was the mouthpiece at the hearing. And we'll talk more about it in the Finance Committee, but when you really look at the numbers, we're getting our cost per student, you take away the externals, 17% of the body, 1.5 almost, we're paying 24 grand a head, and I think we're paying out 17 grand a head is what our riders, our passengers pick up. And so there's something not quite right about that, and I'd like to explore that more, and we're going to talk about that. But thank you for your.
So when Andover left the district, it was 10 years ago, and initially the board set up a 10-year agreement. This is the last year of that agreement. Their board has asked their superintendent to do the same thing to come up with a new agreement. Our old agreement was over 30 pages. We had personnel, we had buses, we had property, all that's no longer. They have to make a decision if they want to enter an agreement with SAT 44 or if they want to shop with RSU 10. And so they've asked for proposals, and their board has to make a decision which way they want to go. They have a small and declining enrollment, and just trying to figure out what they want to do best for their school system and their budget. So this is simply put, the idea is that we would do something similar to what we do currently with Gilead and Upton. The other two, essentially districts that we contract with, who send their tuition to kids here. They do 100% of their student body coming here. Andover does have some they have choice, where they do send some kids to RSU 10 already and send students here. And that's been back even when they were part of the district, they had choice at the end of 5th grade. And so this is just trying to figure out what that agreement could be. But from what I've been told, the state sets the reimbursement rate that we can charge, but I don't mind reaching out, Scott, to even Mr. Bell and just try to get an answer.
It's going to be talked about
Yep.
more. I made note of it last year, and there's only so much time to process these things, so but I appreciate the conversation here. Who is the Andover superintendent? Is that Dave Murphy?
No, he's Gilligan and Upton. It is Leanne Condon. She's the principal superintendent, part-time. Yep.
Thank you.
Are Gilead and Upton 10-year agreements as well?
Annual. No, sorry, 5-year agreements. We currently do 5-year agreements.
And is that what you would look to do annually?
Yes.
Any further discussion, questions?
Can the agreement be sent out, just for people that are working around? Work?
The original one or the new one?
The original,
I can do that. Yeah.
and the new one if you have it.
Working on it.
Yeah. So the original.
Yep. I can email that out.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of letting the superintendent enter policy Andover to draft the student attendance agreement? Thank you, it's unanimous. Number 3, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding the first reading of policy JJE, student fundraising, and the policy committee will have a recommendation.
Policy committee recommends approval.
Thank you, David. We do not need a second where we have the recommendation from the policy committee. Is there any discussion?
Can we have, what's the note for it? Just us telling them what, sorry, there's a big yellow highlight note that we can give recommendations.
That is a section that, if there's any feedback, the suggested policy upgrade said that we will put in a list about what it can be, what are good ideas for approval for fundraising, and the committee wanted to get actually feedback to see what people thought. There was some hesitation about putting out a specific list and policy, which you then become beholden to potentially. So that's just a clause in there that we have to make a decision before we do a second and final reading if we want to include or not.
I can get creative.
It's tricky once it's in policy, if you want to make changes, you can come back and redo the policy each time, so.
It'd be great as long as it's not violating any school handbook policies or other policies that let them get creative.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the first reading of policy JJE, student fundraising? Thank you, it's unanimous. Number 4, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding the first reading of policy IJOC, school volunteers, and the policy committee will have a recommendation.
Policy committee recommends approval.
Thank you, David. We do not need a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approving the first reading of policy IJOC, school volunteers? Thank you, it's unanimous. Number 5, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding entering into an executive session for a personnel matter requested by the superintendent, section 1, MRSA 405-6A. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, David. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of entering into executive session for personnel matter? Thank you, it's unanimous. We'll take a brief recess for everyone, excluding board members, to exit the room.